Torrential rain lashed the pitch-black night in Ashwood, red and blue lights slicing through the darkness. Amara Ellis, a Navy officer, was pulled over mid-storm, her razor-sharp gaze locking onto Officer Roy Kessler. "Get out of the car," he roared, no reason given, hand grazing his gun, eyes dripping with contempt for her. "A black woman. Why?" Amara asked, voice like steel. He sneered, "Here, I'm the law, an unjust arrest, a corrupt system, and a woman who never backs down. Will Amara dismantle the web of corruption or be swallowed by the darkness?" Hit like to stand for justice, share to spread the message, and subscribe to follow this gripping tale. Let's dive in. The frigid night in Ashwood, Virginia, was cloaked in a relentless drizzle, coating the deserted road with a glossy sheen that mirrored the sickly yellow glow of streetlights. Lieutenant Commander Amara Ellis, 35, a Navy data analyst, gripped the wheel of her old sedan, her razor-sharp eyes glinting under flickering light. Her curly hair was tied high, her black jacket clinging to a tone frame. Fresh from a grueling 6-month mission in Syria where sleepless nights poring over intelligence and facing danger had forged her into an unyielding warrior. The car's radio softly played a smooth jazz tune, Miles Davis's saxophone soothing Amara's weary mind. She craved her mother's small suburban home, the scent of ginger cookies, and a warm embrace just 10 miles away. "Almost there," she whispered, glancing at the clock. But when red and blue lights flared in her rearview mirror, her heart stuttered. Not from fear, but from a painfully familiar ache. Another baseless stop, likely because she was a black woman. "Stay calm, Amara. You face checkpoints in Damascus," she told herself, her finger brushing a silver necklace, a covert recording device, a habit from tense interrogations in war zones. She pulled over, killed the engine, hands steady on the wheel, her gaze calm but vigilant. A tall figure emerged from the patrol car, heavy boots scraping the asphalt, footsteps ringing like a drum of fate. Sergeant Roy Kessler, 45. His weathered face marked by a faint scar along his jaw, eyes glinting with malice, right hand near his holster, left wielding a flashlight aimed at Amara's window. The blinding beam was meant to make her squint, but she didn't flinch, offering a faint smile, her voice calm but edged. "Good evening, Sergeant Kessler. Have I violated anything?" Kessler smirked, his gaze sweeping her with blatant contempt. "License and registration." "Hurry up," he growled, dodging her question. Amara tilted her head, smile intact. "Sergeant Roy Kessler, I'm entitled to know why I'm stopped, correct? This car was within the speed limit, taillights checked last week. So, what's the reason?" She repeated his name deliberately, her voice clear for the necklace's recorder. Kessler gave a dry, mocking laugh, aiming the flashlight into her eyes as if to intimidate. "Too smart, huh? Faulty taillight. Hand over the papers." "No stalling." Amara's brow furrowed, her tone steady but cooling. "Faulty? I checked this car weekly, Sergeant. Want me to step out and verify with you? Or is there another reason?" She slowly opened the glove box, retrieving her documents, her eyes never leaving Kessler, analyzing him like a battlefield target. He snatched the papers, glaring. "Don't tell me how to do my job. What's that bag in the back? Drugs? Guns?" Amara's voice sharpened, cutting like a blade. "Clothes, Sergeant. I'm back from a mission. Want to search, follow protocol. But first, give me a lawful reason." Kessler stepped closer, his breath fogging in the cold, his voice dropping to a menacing hiss. "You want to play lawyer? Get out of the car now." Amara inhaled deeply, her eyes locked on Kessler, the air taut as a snapping string. She'd faced gunmen in the Middle East where a wrong glance could mean death, but here, on her own soil, this injustice cut deeper than any knife. "Get out for what, Sergeant?" she asked, her voice calm but defiant. "You haven't stated my violation. I'm waiting for a valid answer." Kessler slammed his hand on the car door, the sound jarring in the quiet night. "Resisting an officer, that reason enough, girl?" he roared, eyes flashing with menace. Amara's faint smile grew colder, her gaze piercing. "Resisting? I'm asking if you're following the law. If you're arresting me, state the charge." "I'm listening." Kessler, patience fraying, yanked handcuffs from his belt, the steel glinting under the streetlight. "You want to be tough? Get out or I drag you out." Amara opened the door, stepping out to stand tall at 5 feet 9 inches, her demeanor serene but radiating a warrior's readiness. Rain speckled her jacket, but she didn't blink, her eyes meeting Kessler's like clashing swords. "Sergeant, you're making a grave mistake," she said, her voice low and cutting. "I'm not the one you want to cross." Kessler closed in, eyes venomous, his breath reeking of tobacco. "You think you're somebody? In Ashwood, I'm the law." He cuffed her, deliberately tightening until her wrists stung. Amara clenched her jaw, eyes never leaving him, her voice ice cold. "The law? You're digging your own grave, Kessler. Mark my words." He shoved her into the patrol car's back seat, the door slamming with a metallic clang like a sentence. Kessler slid into the driver's seat, muttering into his radio. "Bringing in a resistor to the station. Prep the paperwork." Through the partition, Amara stared at the back of his head, her voice icy but confident. "Sergeant, you think you're in control. But you're wrong. Tonight, you picked the wrong fight." Kessler turned, eyes blazing with rage. "You talk too much. At the station. I'll teach you to shut up." Amara didn't reply, her gaze steady, lips curling into a cold smile. The necklace kept recording, each of Kessler's words a self-inflicted wound. Then, a detail caught her eye. Through the car's window, she spotted a black SUV parked a few dozen meters away, lights off but engine running. A figure sat inside, watching from a distance as if monitoring Kessler. "Who's that?" she whispered, eyes glinting with suspicion. As the patrol car rolled into the darkness, Amara told herself, "Just wait, Kessler. The truth will find you." But a larger question loomed. Who was in that SUV? An ally of Kessler's or someone pulling strings from a bigger stage? She didn't know, but her instincts screamed this wasn't just a random stop, it was the start of a greater battle. And she was ready. In that moment, Amara wasn't just a cuffed detainee, but a warrior armed with razor-sharp intellect and unbreakable will, poised to confront the system awaiting her. The rain kept falling, mingling with the fading hum of the engine. But in the darkness, a fire smoldered, the fire of truth, and Amara knew she'd ignite it. Morning light streamed through the high windows of the Ashwood courthouse, casting radiant golden streaks across the polished wooden floor, but the courtroom's air was taut as a blade at the throat. Amara Ellis stood at the plaintiff's table, her black suit sharp against her frame, eyes like honed steel, unflinching before the packed wooden benches. Reporters whispered, pens scratching furiously. Citizens murmured, and local officials sat rigid, their gazes flickering between curiosity and unease. Beside Amara, attorney Vivian Cole, her salt and pepper hair tied neatly, flipped through a stack of documents, her eyes predatory like a hawk circling prey. Across the room, Sergeant Roy Kessler sat in the witness chair, his police uniform crisp but his eyes betraying unease, hands gripping the table's edge as if clinging to a sinking lifeline. Judge Clara Monroe, silver hair glinting in the light, rapped her gavel, her voice commanding. "We begin the trial regarding Lieutenant Commander Ellis's arrest by Sergeant Kessler. Miss Cole, present your argument." Vivian rose, her voice slicing through the air like a blade. "Your Honor, we have irrefutable evidence that Sergeant Kessler arrested Lieutenant Commander Ellis without lawful cause. A clear abuse of power meant to intimidate and discriminate." She held up a small device, her gaze sweeping the room. "This is a recording from Lieutenant Commander Ellis's necklace, capturing the entire exchange that night." She pressed play, and Kessler's voice boomed, menacing. "You want to be tough? Get out or I drag you out." Amara's calm, sharp response followed. "If you're arresting me, state the charge." "I'm listening." The gallery stirred, some shaking their heads in outrage, a reporter whispering he had no reason. Vivian continued, "That's not all. Here's footage from Kessler's dashcam." A large screen flickered to life, showing Kessler aiming his flashlight at Amara's face, provoking her, tightening cuffs so harshly her wrists reddened, muttering, "Prep paperwork for resistor." The crowd erupted in gasps, an elderly woman in the corner wiping tears, murmuring, "They did that to my son." Amara locked eyes with Kessler, her voice icy. "Sergeant, you call that law enforcement? Or just your way of lashing out at the innocent?" Kessler flushed, his voice shaky. "She challenged me. I was doing my duty to keep things safe." But his eyes slid away, unable to meet hers, as if he knew he stood on thinning ice. Vivian stepped forward, brandishing a thick file. "Duty? Your record shows 3 lawsuits in the past decade, all involving abuse against people of color. Each time, evidence disappeared." "Not this time, Sergeant." She faced the judge, We request all charges against Lieutenant Commander Ellis be dropped and a full investigation into Kessler's conduct. Judge Monroe frowned, her piercing gaze settling on Kessler. Sergeant, how do you explain this evidence? Kessler cleared his throat, trying to steady himself. Your Honor, Lieutenant Commander Ellis didn't comply, posing a risk. I followed protocol. Amara's faint smile was a spear point. Protocol? You didn't state a lawful reason, didn't read my rights, and cuffed me like I was a war criminal. That's your protocol, Kessler. He opened his mouth, but Vivian cut in, her voice like ice. Let a witness clarify. She called. Officer Jamal Carter. Take the stand. Jamal, in a pristine police uniform, stepped forward, eyes trembling but resolute. He stood at the podium, hands clenched, voice low but clear. I'm Officer Jamal Carter. Under Sergeant Kessler's command, I've seen him pressure colleagues to falsify reports to cover his wrongs. He said someone higher up would handle any trouble. The gallery exploded in whispers. A reporter scribbling frantically, who's behind him? Kessler shot up, shouting, You're betraying me, Carter. You've got no proof. Jamal took a deep breath, glancing at Amara for strength. I do. Sergeant, I kept a copy of a falsified report you forced me to write 2 months ago, and I saw you take a cash envelope in a parking lot behind the station from a man driving a black SUV. Amara's eyes narrowed, recalling the mysterious SUV from the night of her arrest. He's getting closer, she whispered to Vivian. Vivian nodded, holding up another document. Your Honor, Kessler's accounts show $10,000 monthly deposits from an untraceable company linked to Mayor Roland Pierce's office. We believe Kessler is a puppet and Pierce is pulling the strings. The courtroom fell silent, then erupted in fervent murmurs. An official in the back row paled. Slipping out, phone pressed to his ear. Kessler trembled, eyes wild with panic. You don't know what you're doing, Carter. You'll regret this. Jamal stood taller, voice firm. I regret staying silent too long, Sergeant. I'm doing this for people like my sister, threatened by you just for driving in the wrong lane. Amara gave a subtle nod, respect in her gaze. Judge Monroe reviewed the documents, her voice stern. Officer Carter, you mentioned the envelope in the parking lot. Any details about the man who gave it? Jamal swallowed, his voice low but clear. I didn't see his face clearly, but he wore a suit, about 50. Deep voice. Kessler called him the mayor's guy. In a call I overheard, Kessler's face drained of color, his hands gripping the table as if to snap it. Amara whispered to Vivian, Pierce, we're touching him. Vivian nodded, voice hushed. But we need more to drag him into the light. Judge Monroe rapped her gavel, her tone final. All charges against Lieutenant Commander Ellis are dismissed. Sergeant Kessler, you're suspended immediately pending investigation. Officer Carter, thank you for your courage. Applause broke out, but Amara didn't smile. As Kessler was led away, she fixed him with an icy stare. You thought you were a pawn, Kessler, but the real puppet's out there. I'll find him. Kessler glared, voice trembling. You don't know who you're messing with, Lieutenant Commander. Amara tilted her head, her voice cutting. Then let me find out. As Kessler vanished behind a door, Jamal approached Amara, eyes still tense. I don't know if I did the right thing, but I couldn't let them keep going, he said, voice thick. Amara placed a hand on his shoulder, her tone warm. You chose the hard path, Jamal. That's the road to justice. Vivian pulled Amara aside, whispering. Jamal mentioned the black SUV and Pierce. I'll check Kessler's bank records and cameras near the station. But Amara, if Pierce is involved, we're wading into dangerous waters. Amara nodded, her eyes blazing. Dangerous. I've cracked data codes under shellfire, Vivian. A corrupt mayor won't stop me. She glanced at the window, sunlight bathing her face. They made my little sister live in fear after a traffic stop. I won't let anyone else suffer like that. Vivian smiled, eyes fierce. Then we keep going. Jamal might know more. I'll arrange a meeting with him tonight. Amara nodded, her gaze an unquenchable fire. She knew this fight was just beginning. Kessler was one piece, but Roland Pierce and perhaps a larger network lurked in the shadows. With the necklace's evidence, Jamal's bravery and Vivian's intellect, Amara was ready to tear through the darkness to find the light. The dim golden glow of a roadside tavern in Ashwood did little to dispel the heavy tension in the air. Amara Ellis sat in a shadowed corner, a glass of water glinting faintly before her, beside a thin stack of papers from Vivian Cole detailing suspicious transactions from Kessler's accounts, $10,000 monthly transfers from a shell company, Silver Point Holdings. Amara's sharp eyes scanned each line, pausing at a handwritten note, Silver Point tied to Mayor Pierce's office. Check Sterling Hotel, room 512, 10 p.m. tomorrow. Her pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the instinct that she was nearing the heart of a darker web than she'd imagined. She glanced out the window where misty rain shimmered under streetlights, her heart heavy. Today's trial had suspended Kessler, but Jamal Carter's testimony about the mayor's guy and the black SUV haunted her. Pierce wasn't just a politician, he was a spider, weaving a net across Ashwood. The tavern door jingled and Jamal entered, not in his police uniform but a denim jacket, his young face etched with worry. He scanned the room, spotted Amara, and hurried to sit across from her. "You actually came," he said, voice low, rubbing his hands as if to chase away the chill. "I was afraid I'm dragging you into big trouble." Amara tilted her head, her gaze soft but piercing. "Jamal, you stood up in court. That's the first step. But what's new about the Sterling Hotel? You said Kessler met someone there." Jamal took a deep breath, his eyes betraying an inner struggle. I checked Kessler's patrol logs. He went to the Sterling 3 times last month, always at night, room 512. I overheard him on a call mentioning the mayor and a package. I don't think it's cash, it's something bigger." Amara narrowed her eyes, voice low. "Something bigger? Like what, Jamal? Drugs? Weapons?" Jamal shook his head, voice trembling. "I'm not sure. But last week I saw a locked wooden crate in the station's back storage, marked with Silver Point's logo. Kessler told me to stay away." Amara tapped her fingers on the table, eyes glinting. "A crate. If Pierce is into smuggling, the Sterling's their hub. You up for joining me tomorrow night?" Jamal swallowed hard, eyes wavering. "You know if they catch us, I lose everything, right? My mom's got no one else." Amara placed her hand on his, voice firm yet warm. "Jamal, I've stood on the edge of life and death in Syria. I know fear, but if we don't act, Pierce will keep choking Ashwood. You want your mom living in his town forever?" Jamal nodded slowly, eyes hardening. "I'm in. But what's the plan? We can't just barge in." Amara smiled, voice confident. "Vivian's checking Sterling's cameras. We'll record, eavesdrop, and catch them red-handed. But Jamal, if we go in, you have to trust me." He nodded, voice steady. "I trust you, Lieutenant Commander." Amara pulled out her phone, texting Vivian, "Sterling, room 512, 10 p.m. tomorrow. Prep listening gear." Vivian replied instantly, "I'm on it. But Amara, I have Pierce shows. Be careful. He's not alone." Amara pocketed her phone, looking at Jamal. "Get ready. Tomorrow night, we face the spider." In the cramped living room of Amara's mother's suburban home, the faint scent of ginger cookies lingered, but a heavy silence choked the air. Grace, 60, sat in her worn armchair, hands trembling around a chipped teacup, her eyes wide with fear. "Amara, what are you doing digging into Mayor Pierce's business? He is Ashwood." Her voice quivered, laced with a mother's dread. Amara knelt beside her, gripping her hands gently, her own heart twisting. "Mom, I can't let them keep hurting people. I've seen what they did to my sister, to folks like Jamal." Grace shook her head, tears brimming. "But you're a Navy officer, Amara. If you push too far, they'll ruin your career. You're my pride. But I'm terrified of losing you." Her words cut deeper than any battlefield wound. Amara had faced death in Syria, but the thought of breaking her mother's heart made her falter. The next morning, in Vivian's cluttered office, an email from Amara's Navy superior stopped her cold. Colonel Harris's voice crackled through the phone, sharp as a whip. "Lieutenant Commander Ellis, we've heard you're stirring trouble in Ashwood. Drag the Navy into a political mess, and your career's done. Stand down." Amara's grip tightened on the phone, her pulse hammering. Her career, years of sacrifice, sleepless nights decoding data to save lives, hung by a thread. She met Vivian's gaze, voice low but resolute. "If I stop, Pierce wins. But if I go on, I could lose everything." Vivian's hand rested on her shoulder, eyes fierce. "Amara, you chose justice. It comes at a cost. Are you ready to pay it?" Amara stared out the window, dawn's pale light bathing her face. She thought of her sister, trembling after a baseless traffic stop, and Jamal. Risking it all. "I'll pay," she whispered, but a flicker of doubt crept in. Could she take on an entire system? As she left, her phone buzzed with an anonymous text, "Back off, Ellis, or your family pays." Attached was a photo of her mother at the market that morning. Snapped from afar, Amara's fists clenched, eyes blazing with fury but tinged with fear. Pierce wasn't just a spider. He wove a web that could choke her world. She texted Jamal, "Watch your back. They're watching us." But inside, a question gnawed. Could she protect those she loved? Friday night draped the Sterling Hotel in shadow, its opulent facade glowing with golden lobby lights. Amara stood in a darkened corner near a side entrance, baseball cap pulled low, black jacket melding with the night. Beside her, Jamal clutched a camera and Vivian's listening device, hands trembling but eyes burning with resolve. "You sure we won't get caught?" he whispered, breath fogging in the chill. Amara's hand steadied his shoulder, voice low and firm. "Jamal, I've slipped into enemy strongholds for intel. This is just a hotel. Record, listen, and don't let them see you waver." Jamal activated the camera, nodding sharply. Through the glass doors, a black sedan purred to a stop. Mayor Roland Pierce emerged, navy suit crisp, eyes scanning like a predator's. He held a thick envelope and a small metal case, its surface glinting as he passed it to a man in a cap, face shrouded in shadow. "Record it," Amara hissed. Jamal adjusted the lens, capturing Pierce's exchange. Pierce strode toward room 512, the door ajar, red light seeping through the crack like blood. Amara signaled, pulling Jamal along. Their steps silent on thick green carpet. They paused at 512, sliding the listening device under the door's gap. Pierce's voice crackled through, low and tense. "Kessler botched it. If Ellis finds the warehouse, the whole system collapses. Can you handle her?" A deep, steely voice replied, "She's Navy, not some civilian. The Navy's watching. To take her out, it's gotta be clean." Amara's blood surged, eyes flaring with rage. "Weapons," she whispered to Jamal. "They're smuggling weapons." Jamal nodded, hands shaking but camera steady. Suddenly, heavy boots echoed behind them. A burly security guard, radio crackling, loomed, pistol raised. "You too. Hands up," he barked, eyes narrowing. Amara turned, gaze calm but coiled like a spring. "We're guests, wrong floor," she said, voice even but sharp. The guard advanced, unconvinced. "Guests? With a camera and spy gear? Hand it over, or I shoot." Jamal trembled, but Amara stepped in front of him, voice ice cold. "Shoot me, and the Navy will rip Ashwood apart. Call your boss. I know Pierce is in there." The guard hesitated, unease flickering in his eyes. Before he could respond, room 512's door swung open. Pierce stepped out, gaze cutting like a blade. "Lieutenant Commander Ellis," he said, voice smooth but venomous. "You're full of surprises. But you're on my turf now." Amara stood tall, unflinching. "Your turf? You call weapons smuggling a turf? I've got video, Pierce. You handed off that case tonight, and I know silver points your front." Pierce's smirk was strained. "Clever but naive. Ashwood needs me to run, and you can't touch me." Amara's phone buzzed, shattering her focus. A text from Colonel Harris. "Ellis, you're suspended pending investigation. Cease involvement in Ashwood immediately." Her heart plummeted, the ground beneath her crumbling. Her career, her life's work, hung in tatters. Pierce caught the shift in her eyes, his smile widening. "The Navy's cut you loose, Lieutenant Commander. Go home before you lose more." Amara's fists clenched, fury battling a rare spark of fear. She thought of her mother, the threatening text, and for the first time, doubt crept in. Was she fighting a machine too vast? She glanced at Jamal, his eyes wide with trust despite his fear. "You okay?" he whispered. Amara inhaled deeply, her gaze reigniting. "No, Pierce. I'm not going home." She turned to Jamal, voice resolute. "This video's not enough. If the Navy won't back me, we need Ashwood's people. Kessler's victims, the town itself." She pulled her phone, texting Vivian. "Find more witnesses from Kessler's cases. We need the town to rise." Pierce stepped back, eyes flickering with panic. Amara met his gaze, voice razor sharp. "You think I'm alone? I'll make Ashwood your judge." She motioned to Jamal and they backed down the hall, hearts pounding but steps steady. The Ashwood courthouse vibrated with the crowd's murmurs like a howling wind before a storm. Early morning light streamed through high windows, illuminating packed wooden benches filled with reporters, officials, and citizens, each holding their breath in anticipation. Amara Ellis stood at the plaintiff's table, her navy suit exuding resolve, eyes blazing like an unquenchable flame. Beside her, Vivian Cole flipped through documents, her gaze icy and poised for the killing blow. Across the room, Mayor Roland Pierce sat rigid, his gray suit impeccable but unable to mask the tension in his clenched hands. His eyes swept the room, feigning confidence, but lingered on the back corner where his son, Lucas Pierce, 22, sat silently. Lucas, with disheveled hair and pained green eyes, gripped his chair's armrests, his gaze heavy with years of estrangement. 2 years ago, Lucas discovered his father's secret weapons cache and cut contact. Unable to reconcile the honest man who raised him with the criminal behind a smuggling network, today he was here for answers. Who is his father, and could he reclaim the man he once admired? Judge Clara Monroe banged her gavel, her voice resounding. "We proceed with the trial of Mayor Roland Pierce, charged with weapons smuggling, bribery, and police manipulation. Ms. Cole, present your case." Vivian rose, her voice sharp as a blade. "Your Honor, we have undeniable evidence." She held up a USB drive. Video from the Sterling Hotel captures Mayor Pierce exchanging a case of weapons with an associate. His accounts show $15,000 monthly deposits from Silver Point Holdings, a shell company. Officer Jamal Carter testified that Pierce coerced officers to cover up misconduct. The gallery buzzed, a reporter whispering, "He's running the whole town." Vivian pressed on. "This is a criminal system Pierce built, turning Ashwood into a smuggling hub and trampling justice." Pierce gave a faint smile, his voice smooth. "Your Honor, this is a political plot. I've served Ashwood for 20 years. Those transactions were legitimate, the video a misunderstanding." Amara's fists clenched, her eyes flaring. "Served," she said, voice low but cutting. "You call turning Ashwood into an arms market service. You let men like Kessler bully citizens, and you dare say it's for the community." Pierce turned, his gaze cold. "Lieutenant Commander, I understand your anger, but don't weaponize personal pain. You have no direct evidence against me." Vivian cut in, her voice icy. "No direct evidence. We have bank records, video, and testimony. Who will the jury believe, a mayor with dark secrets, or those fighting for truth?" Pierce's smile lingered, his eyes flicking to his lawyers, their gazes cold and powerful. Amara realized Pierce was shielded by a greater force, perhaps a federal official or an organization beyond Ashwood. Judge Monroe reviewed the documents, her voice measured. "Ms. Cole, your evidence is strong, but to convict Mayor Pierce, we need a clearer link to the crimes. Mr. Pierce, your response." Pierce stood, his tone slick. "I'm a victim of a smear campaign. I didn't smuggle anything. Kessler acted alone." Amara's heart tightened. Vivian whispered, "He's hiding behind a wall of power. We need a knockout." Amara's eyes scanned the room, landing on Lucas. He gripped his armrests, eyes full of pain but resolute. Amara knew of the weapons cache Lucas found 2 years ago, stumbling upon Silver Point marked crates in his father's warehouse. He'd left home, unable to live with the lies, yet carried the ache of loving his father. Amara stood, her voice ringing clear. "Your Honor, I have a question for Mayor Pierce. You say you protected Ashwood, but have you considered those hurt by your network? People like my sister, threatened by police for her skin color? And what about Lucas, your son, who once saw you as a hero, now watching you hide your crimes?" Pierce paled, his eyes darting to Lucas. The young man bowed his head, hands trembling, tears glistening. The room fell silent, the air suffocating. Amara continued, softer but forceful. "I know about the weapons, Mr. Pierce. 2 years ago, Lucas found them. You thought smuggling arms would bring power. But Lucas doesn't need a father ruling Ashwood. He needs one who owns his mistakes." Pierce trembled, his voice a growl. "You have no right to drag my son into this." But his tone cracked, torn by pain. Lucas stood, eyes brimming but resolute, his voice carrying through the courtroom. "Dad, I can't stay silent anymore. I saw those crates, I know what you did. I left because I couldn't stand you turning Ashwood into a lie. Stop this for me." Tears streamed down his face, but his gaze never left his father. The gallery buzzed. Pierce collapsing into his chair, hands covering his face, shoulders shaking. Amara whispered to Vivian now. Vivian held up another USB, her voice cutting. Your Honor, we have new evidence. A recording from an anonymous officer, capturing a call between Mr. Pierce and a senior official discussing the weapons cache cover-up. Judge Monroe donned earphones, listened, her eyes darkening. Pierce looked up, his gaze hollow. He turned to Lucas, tears falling. Lucas, I just wanted you safe, wanted Ashwood strong. But I was wrong. He faced the judge, voice shattered. I plead guilty to everything. The courtroom erupted in applause, some standing, eyes wet. Lucas stepped forward, embracing his father, whispering, you still have me, but you have to pay. Amara exhaled, her eyes meeting Lucas's, who nodded faintly, his expression lighter. Jamal, seated behind, gripped Amara's hand, whispering, you did it, Lieutenant Commander. Judge Monroe banged her gavel. Mayor Pierce, based on your plea and evidence, I find you guilty. This trial is concluded. She looked at Amara, respect in her eyes. Lieutenant Commander, you've changed Ashwood. Amara stepped outside, warm sunlight enveloping her. Lucas, guided by a friend, called out, Lieutenant Commander, thank you. You gave my dad a chance to make amends. Emmy, faith that justice lives. Amara knelt, meeting his eyes. Lucas, you're the hero today. You saved your dad and Ashwood. She rose, her gaze blazing. But as she turned, a figure stood far off. In the familiar black SUV, eyes cold and watching. Amara felt the stare, but when she approached, the vehicle vanished. Who are you? She whispered, eyes glinting with resolve. The fight for justice wasn't over, but Amara knew she'd never stop for Lucas, Jamal, and the light of truth. Amara Ellis's story is a powerful testament to the strength of courage, intellect, and compassion in the fight against injustice, facing baseless discrimination and Mayor Pierce's corrupt network. Amara stood unyielding, using persistence and evidence to expose the truth. Her journey teaches that justice isn't given, it demands daring to challenge power and unwavering faith in truth. Lucas, Pierce's son, with his honesty, awakened his father's conscience, showing that family love can shatter the darkness of sin. Jamal, a young investigator, reminds us that even small acts of bravery can shift systems. The profound lesson is to stand against injustice, trust in truth, and offer the misguided a chance at redemption. This story inspires us to act, not stay silent, for a fairer world. Hit like to champion justice, share to spread the message, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Together, let's build a community where truth always has a voice.